So shout out. Anyways, I went to SLU and then I went to Chicago for a little bit, played with the reserve team there, and then got bumped up to the first team. Just it was an Olympic year, so basically they just needed rostered players, and I was just warming up, but I loved it because it was like the first little foot in the door. Um, and then I went over to Denmark, same team as Mollie. I was only supposed to be there for 6 months, but ended up staying for 3 years, which is wild to say now. And then I was kind of ready to come back home, so I am currently playing in Louisville for Racing Louisville. I tore my hip labrum. That was new. Really thought I was invincible. Did yoga every day, but it's all good. So we're just kind of on the come up now. So yeah.
Hi, my name's Paige Nurkin. I'm a goalkeeper. Yeah, so from Charlotte, North Carolina. So I know we have one of you from Charlotte here, so yay. But yeah, I did my undergrad at Columbia University. I was there for 4 years. My freshman year was COVID and we did not get a season. And then I did my 5th year at Wake Forest, where we were national runner-ups. So that was a really cool, different experience. I considered trying to keep playing after, but then shifted courses, and I'm actually starting my PhD in a few weeks. So that's where I'm at.
Hi guys, I'm Maliah. I played 4 years at Clemson, where I then went undrafted, found myself with Orlando Pride for about like a year. I loved it. Then I moved career or not careers, but then ended up going overseas, went to Australia, played in Portugal, and then I found myself back in the States where I'm definitely done playing, but I had really enjoyed my time overseas.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tori McCool. My college experience was a little bit different. I played 5 years at the ECNL. I committed to play college my sophomore year of high school. I wasn't really sure like what I wanted to do slash what my passions were yet, especially going into college. But then once I got into college, I realized I loved social media and I really wanted to take it a step further. So I played one season with Middle Tennessee. I had a great freshman year. I played a ton, and then I actually got a job opportunity from the ECNL. So I have been working with them since 2021, and it has been amazing. And from there, I have met the UGA soccer coaches. I wanted to go and play at UGA my whole life, so I transferred to UGA my sophomore year, and now I do their social media. So I do that, and I do ECNL, and that's me.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you everyone for introducing yourselves. I think we're gonna move on to the question portion now. Um, and just feel free to jump in whenever you have anything to say, and we can really flesh these questions out. So the first kind of question we wanted to talk about is the survey results, about kind of just touching on that and um, just kind of what your guys's, with your experience in mind, what is your guys's initial reaction to survey results? Do you feel like that's fair? Like, do you feel like that was your experience, or you knew you had teammates like that, or just kind of opening that up? Maybe we'll start with Mollie. Mollie, how do you feel about the survey results?
Okay, so I I'm definitely surprised by the results, but in a sense, I feel like it makes sense because when you're choosing to commit to a school, especially when you're so young, there's so many different factors that go into the outcome of your career, I guess you could say. So when you're committing so young and you're looking at all these schools, and then when you get to that school, there's a lot of different standards. So obviously, a lot of different things go into play with these results, like your team culture. Do you like your team? Who are your teammates? Who are your coaches? How do you mesh with your coaches? Are you playing? Are you not playing? Like there's a lot of different things that intertwine into the survey. So for me, I do it it makes me sad that 1 in 3 transfer and all those other people consider transferring. But that's really that's what my initial reaction was to the survey.
Definitely, yeah. Um, for everyone, I know we all have kind of different college, like how you chose your colleges, and we all have very kind of different colleges we went to. So how did, for each person can answer this, but how did you guys know that the college you chose was the right one for you? And like what kind of factors went into that for you? And maybe we'll start with Paige.
I think one thing that was really important for me was the academics. I knew that was a high priority. So I think at first I was really getting wowed by a lot of these big name soccer schools. And then I had to step back and pause and be like, would I even be looking here if I wasn't playing soccer? And if the answer was no, then I was like, then don't get carried away with that. Um, I think visiting all the schools was really important because you can see something on paper and then actually stepping on campus and just feeling the vibe of the coaches, the team, and the like atmosphere of the school. Some places I visited, I was just like, I thought I would love it, and I just got the ick. And then I think kind of where I ended up, it just felt right being there. Talking to some of the other players and knowing that they had similar values and goals that aligned with what I wanted to achieve in my college career, both academically and athletically. And I think I really liked my coaches as people outside of their coaching, like just knowing that they were caring for the girls and seeing how they interacted with the people on their team was like a big thing on my visit. That was like, wow, this is something that's really cool and that I want in my career.
Yeah, definitely.
I think for me, my advice kind of like really didn't have anything to do with soccer. It really like I don't even remember who said this to me, but it stuck with me since. And it was like make a decision that if you weren't playing soccer, you would still love the place you're at. And I was someone like kind of going off of what Maddie had said earlier. Like I thought I was invincible when it came to injuries. I had never experienced injury, so I was so soccer, soccer, soccer. In my freshman year, I ended up breaking my leg, and soccer was like that taken from me. And I still like liked my team and the place I was at. So like I think making a decision based on if I wasn't playing a sport, if I wasn't playing soccer, would I still want to be in that environment at that college campus? Because I mean, things can be taken from you. Maybe you fall out of the game and you just don't want to do it anymore, or just like making sure you love the place that you're at was like really important for me.
Agreed. I can go off that. So I feel like for me, when I was choosing my college, outside of doing all the typical standard stuff like going on the visits, meeting the coaches, watching the team, meeting the players, all that kind of stuff, I feel like the bottom line was it came down to when I made my decision, I felt like I was A, welcomed at Georgia, and I felt like I was B, going to be valued at Georgia. Because if you don't feel welcomed and you don't feel valued, then what's the point? And I feel like this is a really common misconception with girls committing to schools for the big name because, well, obviously it's so fun and there's a lot of hype around that big name school. When it's your real life and you're placed on that campus, if you don't feel seen and you don't feel valued and your coaches don't see you as a person as well as an athlete, then that's when I feel like things get a little tricky.
Yeah, I'm just gonna piggyback off that a little bit, Molly, too. I think like what chose it for me and how I knew it was correct is when my coach was just so concerned about me as a human being. She wanted me to grow as a person. Like I think a lot of um, coaches really hone in on like, what can you do is for me as a player. But I think the biggest thing for me, and I didn't know it until it happened, was like I'm not just like a number, like a pawn in your little system. Like you actually give a crap about like, you know, my mental being. And they do such a good job of just telling you, like the realistic this of your, the scheduling. And just I appreciated that so much. And it wasn't even anything necessarily that she said. Sometimes I think it was just like the questions that she asked. Like I don't know, I felt like a real person. It was the first time during the recruitment process where I was like, okay, like I slowed, it's just slowed down and just felt correct. So I just wanted to say like that's how I kind of knew. It's just that feeling of like I'm gonna grow here as an athlete, but also a person.
Yeah, I can kind of go off of that too. I would say one of the biggest things for me was just like how much I felt that the head coach valued me. You know, he would come to watch my games in the ECNL, or he would stream my high school games and we would talk about it, and it felt like really good to just feel like I wasn't also going to just be another number. And going off of that too, I went to ID camps constantly even when I was committed. So I got to kind of meet the team like before I even committed, and seeing what the culture was like and seeing how the girls like trained and even just supported other girls that wanted to play college soccer was awesome. So I would definitely say team culture matters, and liking the head coach especially totally matters.
Yeah, I feel like the same for me with going to my college. When I was going through my recruiting process, I didn't exactly have a list. I didn't exactly know what I wanted. I had a pretty general one. But something that really resonated with me on my visit was the coach, when I was talking to him, was just straight up with me. Like, he was pretty blunt, and I appreciated it because I'd gone on a few other visits, and it was kind of just like, I don't know, like the flattery game, being like, you could play as a freshman, you could do this as a freshman, like all these things. And it was, I mean, who doesn't love like being doted on? Like, that was awesome. But when I got to my college, I had a very candid conversation with him, and he gave me a lot of compliments, but at the same time he was also like, realistically, like, this is what I see that you need to work on too. And we already have a good goalkeeper, and it's going to take a lot for you to overtake her your freshman year. And I respected that, because I don't want a coach who's not going to tell me the truth, and because I feel like that was a bigger indication for me further down the line in my experience of, I want honest feedback, because I feel like I can't grow unless I get some constructive criticism. And so that ended up being more important to me. And obviously the relationship, since being a goalkeeper, I wanted to know about the goalkeeper coach, and I saw the goalkeepers there interact with him, and I really liked the kind of bond that they had. Okay, and moving on to the next question. Okay, so this is kind of more theme of the recruiting process. So this is kind of a little bit of the same, going off of, things that you wish you knew beforehand, but knowing what you know now, what would you do differently during the recruiting process to maybe better understand your coach's true coaching style and personality? And just to expand about that a little bit, is, we've heard from players and from the survey right here that, your coach may come across one way during the recruiting process, and very warm and welcoming, and, trying to be throw on a little flattery. But, once you're on campus, their coaching style could change somewhat, and they could be a different person. I know it's a big question, but is there anything during the recruiting process, any questions, any indications, red flags, green flags, that you think girls could look out for in order to better understand a coach's true personality?
I can go for this one. I feel like this is the one question that I could actually talk about for an hour. So I really have like two big hitting thoughts about this question. And it's so funny now, like being so far out of college and like on the other side, because when you're going through that process, like you think you know everything, I guess I would say, but like being on the other side, you just realize how much you actually don't know. And so my two takeaways for going through the recruiting process is that number one, at the end of the day, college athletics is a business. And so what I mean by that is these coaches are building rosters, they're managing scholarships, they're protecting their programs, they're also protecting their families. And so every single player like is an investment. And so every single decision that they make, like it has stakes. It has stakes for you as a player, for the team as a whole, and for their families. And so it's this interesting shift between like when you're going through the recruiting process, you're trying to fulfill your childhood dream of being a college athlete. So it's this balance between chasing that childhood dream while also understanding that the college experience is a full-time job as a student athlete. And so one thing that I wish that I understood more early on, I guess, is to not take things so personally, but to take them seriously. And what I mean by that is like one no from a school is a yes from another school. Like, don't take it so personally. That no is going to lead you to that right yes. And so that's my first takeaway, is college athletics is a business. This is long, but these are just my I'm very passionate about this question. And then my second thing is, if I could go back and tell myself one thing this isn't necessarily, Marlee, I know you asked more towards like the coaches and stuff, but this is just an overall, it all blends together. If I could go back and tell myself one thing, it would be to be more open-minded on the process, because for some reason I was so laser focused on the SEC during my recruitment. Like, I had tunnel vision. I thought it was my only real option. And I'm now again on the outside and I'm looking in, and I like laugh to myself, because there are literally incredible programs all across the country. Places where you can thrive academically, athletically, personally, literally whatever that may be. And just like really, really remembering that the biggest school, or that dream school, that reach school that you thought, like, it's not always the place that's meant for you. And there might be a school or a coach who comes across your screen or comes to one of your games, and it ends up being the place that is going to make you feel like home. And so I think those are my two big takeaways. That was really long, but I just had to put that out there.
I would also say getting to know like coaching staff and stuff better. I said visits were important. I think something I shied away from was like the overnight visits, especially because when we were going through the recruiting, a lot of it was like the unofficial visits. So they would give you the choice, like, oh, you can get a hotel or you could stay with the players if you want. And I was very shy high schooler, and so I was like, that's scary. I don't want to do that. And it wasn't until I actually went on my official visit that I did an overnight, when I was already committed, and that was the first time I kind of hung out with the team and the girls without the coaches there, and stuff started coming out about things. And so I think getting that overnight visit that gives you more time with the team, not with the coaching staff, is a great opportunity to actually learn more about the player insights into the team, what training is like, and their feelings towards their coaching staff.
That's a good one.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that that's such a good shout, because, being able to see the girls' personality away from the coach is a huge indicator of, one, team culture, what the vibe's like, how the friendships are and on and off the field. And definitely. And I always think too, living situations are interesting, like, and because everyone has a preference, but for where I went to school, we all lived together off campus. So I think that like can sometimes be an indication. It's like, do you want sometimes to see your teammates more than necessary? Do you want to be with them 24/7, or how can that be? But also sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you're like, going home is I need to be away from them for a little bit, and that's some people's reset, which is absolutely okay.
Yeah. Especially with social media now, like, social media, obviously we all know, is more prevalent than ever, but we also know that it's a highlight reel. So like, what you see online from current girls on the team, or whatever's going on, it's just you don't actually know what's going on.
I feel like I have an interesting perspective on this because I got to play with my sister who was younger. And so me going in first, I kind of went in blindly, but I remember the question she asked that I always remember being like, I wish someone told me to ask that, but she kind of got that through me. So something as simple as like, how many players are in my position? How often are freshmen playing? Like, it's easy, kind of like what Mollie was saying, it's a business. They're going to tell you you're going to play. They're going to tell you you're going to be a star, whatever it is. But like, she got to like actually ask me these questions when I'm actually in it. Something as simple as like, how does a coach react when you lose? I feel like those were little things that were like really important in her making a decision as well. But she actually got like a front like view at it. Like, she asked me those questions that I wish I got to ask, because it's so smart. Like, or they say freshmen come in and play, but like, she got to actually see like, okay, how many freshmen are actually playing? Is this like true? Do I actually have a shot? So I feel like those are just a different perspective.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Maliah, I'm gonna piggyback off that too. I feel like just little questions that you could ask a coach, it may not be like the most comfortable thing in the world, but just like, I don't know, I think it's okay to ask them like, what is your communication style, or like how do you deal with conflict? And if you don't feel comfortable asking a coach that, you can always ask the team. And to Paige's point, those are those kind of like after hours questions you can ask that are like off the record. And I think you do get that, once you can see the team and you can see how the girls interact off the field, I think that dynamic is so important to recognize early. If you're hanging out with the girls and they're just like bad mouthing other people the whole time, is that a club that's, for you? And so I think like, I think it's okay to ask kind of like the uncomfortable questions, but like they're investing in you, but you're also investing in them, right? So it's like it's okay to be brave and ask a little bit of like the tougher questions. I think I would have done that, like at if I was younger and could redo it, I think I would ask those questions because I think they're fair to ask.
Yeah, no, I think that's such a good point of advice, having those questions ready. And also, like, when I was on my visit, I did not have questions ready. I was that girl who was like, what are your questions? And I was like, what's the weather like here? Like, I did not have good questions. So I would definitely prep that. Okay, now a little bit more on the academic side. Um, how did you guys balance your academic load with playing soccer? And maybe those of you with some more demanding majors. Mine was not so I'm not going to really answer this question so much. But if those of you who really like, Paige, you said that your academics were very important to you. So obviously Columbia is an Ivy League and very demanding school. So that would be awesome if maybe you could just expand about how you balanced that with your soccer life.
Yeah, I feel like it was definitely hard, but at the same time, you have the skills from playing club soccer and high school that you're capable of doing it. It's something I feel like everyone who plays club soccer and is in school has been doing their whole life. That doesn't mean it's easy, but just continuing to rely on those time management skills, and try to get ahead when you can. I loved taking classes with my teammates because it was nice to have someone that holds you accountable or study with. So it didn't always feel like it was work. You still got to have some conversation in there with people you like spending time with. I think also like look at the resources that your school has to help you with academic support. Columbia didn't have a ton, but they offered like 1 hour of tutoring a week for free for 2 classes a semester. So kind of tapping into what you get as an athlete, to help support you through the academics, because it is a transition even if you have those time management skills.
For me, I said meet a friend. Again, it's a little uncomfortable, but like try to meet a friend that's outside your sport. We called them NARPs. I don't know if you guys did. Non-athletic, regular people. They're still people, okay. But I think it's really important to be friends with people outside your sport that are in class, because it's just a good way to keep up. And I don't know, just having like little study groups. I ended up becoming friends with them, and like they were good outlets outside of soccer because it's important to have those too. So it's a good way for them to hold you accountable, and also just kind of get your stuff done. And while you're on the road, obviously it's different than taking a test, there versus when you have to a coach has to proctor it away, and that can be difficult. But just yeah, just try to make a couple friends.
Yeah. I'd say that, when I was making the decision for my college, I wasn't as academic minded. I definitely went with soccer as the priority in mind for me. But with that being said, I definitely understood how important academics are and how much that can affect the school you're going to if you don't value that and see its importance in high school. Because, you let's say like you're the best soccer player ever, but your GPA is like a 2.0 or like a 1.5, something ridiculous, like the schools that you want to go to, these top schools that, everyone's from, and in addition to the schools that are here, also like I don't know, we just had panels with Duke and UNC and also Stanford. Those are top academic schools as well. You can't just be a good soccer player and a really bad student going there. So definitely understanding that. And I think that also coaches, just talking to some of the college coaches that we had last week on our Ask the Coaches panel, what you do off the field and either your character or your academics and how seriously you take things really reflects to them what kind of player you are on the field, you know. So if you're really putting in the work afterwards, and you're trying to get hard to get good grades and be passable and make sure that nothing off the field is going to keep you from the field. I think that's really important to them and really nothing to overlook. That's a pretty important aspect of being a student athlete because, at the end of the day, as much as we'd all probably love to be more emphasis on athletes than student athlete, it is definitely a student athlete role that you have to balance. Okay. Kind of now shifting into the mindset and a couple questions here is we touched on this a few times, and so this is kind of just hammering home if you have any more priorities specifically that you've thought of maybe through these questions process. But looking back on your recruiting journey, would you approach it the same way if you had to do it all over again? Like for these girls that are going through this process right now, like how did your priorities shift once you're in college? And is there anything you wish that you had done differently?
I can start really quick just because I feel like I did this the most recent, but I would say like taking your time. I feel like rushing as soon as that June 15th date hits is just not the right idea. Like I would definitely say go place your feet on different colleges and see, what the different stadiums and buildings are like and just take your time. I feel like rushing just because you can get recruited is not the smartest idea, and I wish that I could have taken more trips and visits because I feel like I could have really seen more that I didn't really see. But that's totally what I would suggest to you girls is just taking your time and going on visits and seeing, what you can.
I can totally piggyback off this because I think I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I'm sure it crossed everybody's mind. One of the most exciting parts about that beginning commitment is getting to post on social media because we live in a world of instant gratification. And when we can press that button and announce that we committed to that school, like it is that rush of adrenaline. But going back to that, like at the same time, like your time will come and it's not worth it to rush it. Like it's going to come. And I get it because I was there. I couldn't wait to post. But you just have to trust your process. Like Tori said, take your time, take your visits, be certain and confident in what you want, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. What I think we could all kind of answer this one because I'm sure we all have either, same or slightly different depending on the areas that we're from or clubs that we did. But what is the biggest adjustment going from your club to college soccer? And maybe we'll start with Maddie on this.
That's so perfect, Marlee, because I was about to hit unmute. Um, for me, I'm 5'3", maybe 5'2". I might be giving myself an inch or a centimeter, but for me it was size. Like I think, you got knocked in high school, that's okay, but like in college, I'm 17, 18-year-old going against like a 21, 22-year-old just getting, kind of smashed. So I feel like the gym was really important, and it's something in high school I didn't really like, and going into college, I really didn't even like it that much, but it's so important. Like for all of you listening, it's really important to pay attention to the details because it goes into injury prevention. It goes into just strength is just so important. It's not just to knock a girl on her butt. Sorry. But it's to it's to protect yourself. And so I think that was one thing for me. And then the other one I had was like speed of play. I remember my first college game I ever played in. after the 90 minutes, I was like, what just happened? Like you're kind of like, it's just really fast. So I think if I could go back and prep, I would have just done a lot more like individual footwork, you know? I think of course it's easier to do that when you're playing like when you're training with someone else, but also just like I don't even know how you prepare for that, but I think just be prepared for the speed of play and hitting the gym.
No, that's like so accurate. I think that for me, my like biggest thing was I just thought I was going to be the most athletic because I was like athletic at a young age. So it's like, oh, like I'm just going to continue to like use my athleticism to like get ahead. But like at some point, like everyone's athletic. So I kind of had to really work on like being a smarter player. Like I was in film all the time and I used to like hate it. My freshman year, I was like, oh, like I'm playing well. Why do I have to watch this? Like I was the worst. I didn't want to actually learn. And that has been like a huge part of my game was like being a student of the game, like actually going in and being asking my assistant coach to take 30 minutes of their time to go over film with me. Like that was so huge for me to like see. Because I think it's easy to like I'm not a great evaluator of my like performance. I'm always like, oh, I played good. And then I actually go back and watch it with someone else's eyes. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, like I'm being delusional. So I think that part of the game, like being a real student of the game, is like so important. And it's just okay to acknowledge you're a little delusional. Like that's fine because that was me. So I think I really had to like, okay, I need a lot of film sessions to like grow as a player.
I think I want to piggyback. Definitely speed of play was a big one. Even like I didn't think it would be that big at Columbia because it's not a outstanding soccer program. So I was like, oh, it'll be fine. And then like that first pickup session before the first day of preseason, I was like, oh, never mind. And then film. I think we didn't do film in club really, or it was pretty minimal. I think doing film in a collegiate setting, there's a lot more tactical side to the game and there's a lot more ability for you to be like called out or picked on in front of your whole team, and that is like a very mentally tough thing to deal with sometimes. um so like when your coaches are playing clip and they're basically like, oh like yeah, this is the reason we had conceded goal and lost the game, and you're like, well, okay, thanks, in front of like your whole team, it's not always easy to deal with mentally. So shifting the mindset to take it as a learning opportunity and not hear anything they say towards you or your friends in film as like a personal attack against you.
Yeah, that's good. I can follow off that. I think for me, like I'm a very mental person to begin with. And so I think one of the biggest transitions for me was the mental battle from club to college. For example, a lot of us were the best on our club team. And when you get to college, like everybody was the best on their club team. And so now going back to the speed of play, that's definitely one thing for me. Like the game is faster, everyone around you is better, every single person is fighting for that starting spot or just to even make the roster. So I think the mental battle is a huge adjustment. And I think with that, when you're a freshman, like you're being thrown into a lot of unknown. Like you've never experienced it before. Like this is your first time. And I feel like as freshmen, we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, which is just unrealistic. So recognizing that like one performance, one training, one game, like one bad practice doesn't define the rest of your career. And recognizing that everyone has bad days, everyone has bad practices, but at the end of the day, shifting your mindset and recognizing like your work ethic and your drive, like that is more powerful than anything else. Like a good work ethic is going to overshadow good technical skills. So that was my biggest adjustment.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that kind of just echoing what Mollie said is last week on the coaches webinar, I think the Duke coach had a really great little quote where he was really emphasizing that talent gets you to college, but hard work and a motivated mindset is what makes you successful there. And I couldn't agree with that more because like everyone kind of touched on and Mollie just said, you go into college thinking that you're the shit, honestly, excuse my language, but you think that you're the best, And so getting there and realizing that you have what at this point 27 other incredible teammates who are insanely talented as well. You know, you got to fight to, you know, rise to the top. And, you know, talent alone isn't going to get you there. And, you know, only that's 0.1% of, you know, that didn't make sense. That's why I didn't go to Columbia, Paige. I know that decimal didn't make sense. But you know, just being motivated and working hard is really what's gonna keep you there. And it's really like the coaches respect that. And you know, you gotta keep working hard every time. You gotta earn your spot every day. It's not once you make that starting lineup, you are not guaranteed to stay in that starting lineup. You have to keep earning your spot every single day, because the person who's behind you is doing the same exact thing. So you really got to stay motivated and stay excited to get that opportunity. Okay. So this next one is really, I think that, you know, mindset, this might be one of the bigger questions we have, but it's pretty exciting. I think it's really important for all these girls to hear is, you know, we've all heard the quote, soccer's what you do. It's not who you are. So how do you guys separate your identity from your performance on the field? If anyone else can start this. I'll just cold call too. Okay, Malia, that's this one's coming to you. I saw you smile, so this is all you.
Um, Honestly, kind of like I said before, I was a little bit delusional in college, especially my freshman year. So I think for me, I really just had to focus on like, okay, take feedback. Like it's a part of the game. Like it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or I'm a like bad soccer player. Like it comes with the territory. And I think for me, it was going a little bit extra so that I felt better about the game. And it was like, I didn't linger and let that game bother me to the next game. And that was something my assistant coach kind of instilled in me. Like, okay, if you had a bad game, don't let it affect your week. Like, be better in the next training session. And that was going to be my little win for the day. And then I already forgot about the game because that Monday after playing on a Sunday, I was like, all right, I've already forgot about it. Like, I'm going to be better this week. So come Thursday, Sunday, whenever our next game was, I was mentally ready to get after it. I wasn't still thinking about a bad pass opportunity, film session being rough the next day. I was like, okay, I took that next training session and it was like a clean slate. And I think that like really helped me through like my career, even post college, was like, have a short memory. It happened, it's over with. Like that game doesn't define you. Everyone has a bad game. I don't know why I thought I would go through 4 years of college and never had a bad game. Like, who thinks like that? I have no idea why, but I did. So I think that learning curve for me was like really good. Like, clean slate, short memory. It doesn't matter. Like, everyone's going to have a bad game. Just kind of like moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think going off of that, I played basketball in high school, and one of the things that my coaches said that I really kind of stuck with me, kind of like what Maliah was saying, is he said, you know, win or lose, we would have a great game. It would be awesome. We won a rivalry game. And he's like, okay, this is awesome. Celebrate this until midnight. And then midnight comes, it's gone. We're moving on to the next day. Or you'd have a really bad game. And he's like, pity yourself, feel bad until midnight. And then midnight, it's a new day. So I felt like kind of going through my college career, that's kind of something that I had. Um, that was definitely just, you know, you got to have a short memory, like kind of what Malia was saying. You can't linger on the good things, you can't linger on the bad things, because living in the past is not going to make you a better soccer player tomorrow. So, you know, if anyone else
Sorry.
wants to.
Also, you bring up like such a good point. Also, not like lingering on the highs. Like, I remember my freshman year, I'd get one award and I'm like, I'm literally that girl. And it was like, it would ruin, I'd be like, oh, I like don't linger either way. Like I think that's really good advice. Like not one way or the other. Like kind of stay neutral, celebrate the wins, but like it's a team thing and like keep that kind of team mentality. And I think like good things will come from it.
I can go. I think I agree with everything you just said, Malia. That was hilarious. But I think for me, it's just like finding, like keeping hobbies that you already love doing, but also like, just finding healthy outlets, whether that's like trying like a new, I mean, you can't really like play another sport. I mean, you can play. There are people that do two sports, but I think it's just important to kind of what I said earlier, just like having another community. I'll speak from my experience. I think I've had like, I'll call it like a cute little identity crisis, I think, with this hip labrum tear. And it's been super interesting just in terms of my perspective and how I'm able to, you know, be with the team, but I'm away from the team. And it's just so interesting because I think I've realized like I put so much value into the sport when in reality like you're so much more than the game, and sometimes it's hard to realize that until you're taken out of the environment. And I'm obviously it's not ideal that I tore my hip, but it's also beautiful, not to sound cringy, but it's like beautiful in the same sense because I think I'll go back with like this refreshed lens, so I think for all of you it's just really important to not neglect like who you are, and find healthy outlets outside your team.
I think I can speak on that a little bit just because now, since I'm involved with UGA, I talk to the girls a lot and we don't necessarily like hang out and all, but after practice and after school, I found out that a lot of them will like cook meals together, or like a bunch of them have a book club and they read the same book every week and they meet up on Wednesdays and talk about it. So I think like finding, your passions and what you're interested in outside of soccer too is super important, because not only are you a soccer player, but you are a person. And I know it's not like super healthy to think about soccer all the time. So finding stuff like that and being involved with your teammates too outside of soccer can keep you busy and keep you having fun.